So we've got a week of prayer for mission this week, and as part of that, we have got Mike and Dorothy with us from church, who went out as missionaries to Pakistan in the 1990s, and they're going to share a little bit of their experience with us and what perhaps we can learn for our lives today as we seek to be witnesses to the good news of Jesus. So, Mike and Dorothy, thanks so much for joining us. Could you just tell us a little bit about where you went and when you went and what you went for?
We went on the last day of 1990. And I think whatever that was, 31st of December, we travelled out and we came back in 1999, just before the end. So we were there for almost 9 years. Both our girls were born there, in a place called Multan, which is reputed to be the hottest inhabited city in the world.
Wow.
Dorothy, why did we go?
Being about the age of 6, I'd been introduced to missionaries, and I felt that that was really what I wanted to do, to be a missionary, a medical missionary of some sort, but I really wanted to be a doctor. So I was thinking I probably wouldn't get that far. But anyway, when my O-level results came through, I had enough good grades to aim for that. So I remember just feeling astonished. Oh, well, maybe God does really want me to be a doctor after all. So then I went we went up to university, and that's where we met. But Mike had always been drawn to sort of overseas as well, so it fitted in very well with our sort of plans and ethos, really.
Yeah, at the university that we went to, there was something called the international rep, and the international rep was meant to be a student who brought concerns of the world to the students. And I was asked if I'd be that for my college. And as I found out about what God was doing in the world, it really just made me think, yeah, that's something to do. When I went for my first interview for a job in Harrogate, they said, have you always wanted to be a teacher? And I said, well, I have wanted to be a teacher, but I think I'll only be one in this country for 5 years. Plans. And they said, thank you very much, you're not going to get the job. But we'd always, since university, and we got married shortly after that, we'd always had this plan to go abroad and serve God.
Brilliant. That's great. So what was it like actually being out in Pakistan and being a doctor and a teacher and missionaries in that place?
The first 3 years were the most difficult, and then we felt much more settled. But it was just, everything was very different and new for us. We had lots of people who wanted to be very friendly to us, and that exhausted us, didn't it? We had
I don't like being friendly to.
Unlike in the UK.
People, people knocking on our door, little kids coming around to see the baby, and but that was a tough time, and also trying to meet vast medical needs, and I was really working on my own as much as I could do whilst trying to learn the language and have a little one as well.
In a way, it was good. We'd expected this while we were. We went for 1 year to missionary training college, and while we were there, one of our tutors sent us on a secret mission. As he said, he wouldn't allow us to tell our parents where we were going, which was quite challenging, really. Anyway, we ended up in Turkey, and that was great for me, because I really do not find it easy to talk about my faith, to create openings. Some people are brilliant at that, but I can remember sitting by the Blue Mosque on a bench, and somebody just came up, and this happened over and over again, and said, because they saw I was different, They just presumed I was a Christian and said, tell me, why are you a Christian? Great, I could tell them. And when we were in Pakistan, again, we were in a city of about 1 million or more, and there were probably about 10 to 15 foreigners there, or people who were obviously foreign, and they really were all Christian missionaries. And so wherever we went, people would ask us or would presume we were Christian. You might be just sitting in a bus or something and somebody would say, our religion is better than yours. We pray 5 times a day. Why don't you pray 5 times a day?
How did you find it being put kind of on the spot like that?
I think at the beginning it's a little bit concerning, because obviously if you give the wrong answer in the country we were in, it can have very, very serious repercussions. And so I think probably at the beginning we were a little bit worried about saying the wrong thing, but we got better at that. And so we were able to, I think, give answers that were relatively straightforward, that didn't cause offense. And of course, wherever we are, I mean, it's a good policy, isn't it? That we should be straight with our answers, but we're not trying to cause offense. We're trying to knock anybody else's viewpoint. We're perhaps trying to lead them on in their thinking to consider something different.
Yes, it's that bit in 1 Peter, isn't it, about always being prepared to give an answer, but doing so, I can't remember exactly what it says, but doing so with gentleness, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The gentleness be evidence.
Yeah.
Or,
That you've got to do it in a way that's not going to cause offence, but is actually going to help.
And I mean, in general, people were very prepared to listen. And you can achieve a lot with words, but obviously it's really important as well. I think people sense in the way we behave that something is different. And I ran an institute where we taught English language, and I can remember one person just coming in and asking me. He said, "What is different about you people? I just feel something different when I walk in." I wish it happened more. It didn't happen that often, but it's when it does.
So you came back to the UK in the late 90s, and how did you, I guess in Pakistan, you're kind of there with the aim of being missionaries as well as the other kind of roles that you had. How have you continued to keep that kind of missional mindset? And what things have you kind of taken forward from your time in Pakistan to now?
I think we were led by God to come to this house where we live, and it is in a Pakistani area. So we've been able to make friends with the people around us.
And eat the food tonight that we were given.
Yeah, but I mean, not perhaps as much as we would like in a way, but we are friends with them, and some of them we have had really good conversations with, but perhaps like to bring Jesus more into their lives than we have done, really.
Since we got back, we've at the moment I'm a trustee at Galley House. Dorothy previously had been one for many years, but also involved in what they're doing. This is in Darnell, a Christian community project. When we came, it was mainly with people from Pakistani, Bangladeshi background. Now it's much more from a Roma Slovak background. So the kids club that I ran on Tuesday, we had 34 kids, not one who was white British, probably about 6 who were from a Pakistani background, and that would leave 28 from a Roma Slovak background. So it's totally different, and that continues to be challenging, but to be good. There are so many people from different communities that live in Rotherham or live in Sheffield, and yet in general we don't see that in the church. And, you know, I think it is a challenge to us within the church that if we're expecting a lot of these people to come into, you know, our walls and our services, they're probably not going to come. How do we reach them with the good news that we have?
Thank you. I think that's really, really challenging. I was reading in Christianity magazine this month that apparently only 1% of Christians in the UK are engaged in international mission in some way, and whether that be they're prepared to go as missionaries or they're financially supporting missionaries, which I was really surprised to hear just how low that figure was. But we have that call, don't we, in the Great Commission to go and make disciples of people of all nations. And actually, one of the ways that we can do that is supporting people like yourselves when you were in Pakistan, and other people today, but also, you know, the role that we have to play. And, you know, I think what you picked up on there is really valuable, that actually you don't have to go to Pakistan, do you, to reach Pakistani people for Christ. You know, you don't have to go to Slovakia to reach Slovaks, because, you know, the nature of our society now is that we've got so many people here. And yeah, we need to be playing a role, don't we, in sharing good news with them. I think one of the things that I'm probably going to embarrass you now, but one of the things that always inspires me when I look at you two is just how everything you do seems to be focused on what's God calling you to do, and kind of that willingness to sacrifice yourself, I suppose, and your own comfort and your own time and your own resources to do what is this mission that we've all been given. And I think that's something which kind of encourages me and inspires me, and I think probably inspires others at church as well. So thank you.
Well, you see, I'm not making any comments on that, but you know, when we came to Rotherham, we didn't initially come to this church. We got very friendly with people from the Iranian community, a few of them who were going to that church, and you know that we do need, I think, as churches to be open. And they weren't the easiest people to get on with, but they saw something very often in Christians, and in talking to them and then talking to their friends, you know, they are looking at us. What we need to do at the church, and it is so important, is that a lot of people from different communities look at the way the West lives and think that is Christianity. And we've got to show them, you know, by our own attitudes, that actually that's not Christianity. Christ calls us, you know, to be very, very different, and to, well, yeah, I mean, live radically different lives, which we don't really do we? I'm talking about ourselves, but we.
It's easy, isn't it, just to go with the flow of what everyone else is doing and forget that actually we're disciples of Jesus, and that should affect every part of our lives, wherever we are.
Absolutely. I mean, people from a lot of these cultures are so hospitable, and you know, we talk about a God who welcomes all, and we're not really reflecting that, are we? In, you know, in the way that we open our time, our houses, or whatever to others.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and for everything that you've shared, and yeah, for inspiring us to think about our own lives.